Hi, my name is Brian with James Bean Estate Sales in Oklahoma City, and several years ago we used to own an antique mall, and one of the things you wouldn't think would be a problem when you own an antique store or an antique mall is the fact that people won't, they'll buy stuff but they will never pick it up. And that sounds like an odd problem to have, but it really does sometimes become a curse when you have a limited space and people just, buy stuff, because they're bored, but then they don't need the stuff. So then they will let stuff sit there for months or even years, and you're stuck with their merchandise not knowing what to do. So I kind of want to tell you about two of the weirdest stories that we had. The first story is about a lady, and she's widely known in Oklahoma City as a person who loves to buy stuff, but then she never comes and picks stuff up. And we had an antique store up on Northwestern, and she had bought a sofa and a chair from us, and it sat there for several months, and we had called her, and she would never come pick it up. And we were actually moving our store to another location, and when it came time to move the store, and we kept telling her, you've got to get it moved or we're not taking it with us, we moved all of our stuff and left that sofa and the chair in the old store, and we moved to our new location. Well, the new owner of the new store came in, and he called us and said, hey, you left the sofa and this chair here. He goes, you need to come get it. We said, no. We said, you can do anything you want to do with it, throw it away, sell it, whatever. It's been paid for. The lady won't pick it up, just do what you want to do. So he did what he wanted to do, and he loaded it up, and he brought it to our store and dumped it off on our front porch. So then we got stuck with this chair sofa again. So we pulled it inside the store. James got mad, he repriced it, and sure enough, a couple of weeks later, this lady who is notorious for buying stuff comes into the store again, looks at this chair and sofa, and she goes, oh my gosh, this is fabulous, and she bought it again. So anyway, after she buys it, we collect the money for it, and James says, well, he goes, I hope that you pick it up this time. She goes, well, what do you mean? He says, you've already paid for this twice. He said, you bought it from us a year ago and never picked it up, and you just bought it again. So she did actually pick it up that time. But the weirder story was after we had an antique mall, we had a lady who came in and she bought this big round table from one of our dealers in her booth. She paid $1,200 for this table, and she didn't come pick it up, and we'd call her every week to remind her, you've got this table, come pick it up. And the dealer needed it out of their booth, so she moved it from her booth into our area. And, it cost us, what we charge is $2 per foot at the time. So it was costing $2 per foot for this table to sit there because it was taking up space that we could rent. And we kept calling, and she said, yeah, I'll be there tomorrow and pick it up. But she never did. And finally, she even, her husband got on the phone, wanted to know what our problem was. And we told him that, we don't have a problem. We just need her to come pick up the table. And she would never pick it up, and 3 or 4 months goes by, and finally we tell her that if you don't pick it up, we're going to have to move it to storage. You're going to have to pay storage fees on it, and still she never picked it up. So by this time, about a year and a half later, I think it was 14 months, some lady comes into the store and she looks over and she says, hey, I've been looking at this table. It always says sold, but it's been sitting here forever. She goes, what's the deal with it? And we explained to her, what had happened, that we sold the table. The lady won't come pick it up. And she goes, I really want the table. And she offers us $1,800 for this table. So we said, okay, fine. We'll sell it to you as long as you can pick it up and get it out of our hair. So she buys the table for $1,800 and she takes off with it. And a few months later, lo and behold, the lady shows up magically, and she goes, I'm here to get my table. And we look at her and says, well, you don't have a table anymore. And she goes, well, what do you mean? We said, well, you never picked it up, and we finally resold it. And she gets all upset because we sold her table. And she goes, I need my money back. And I said, you know what? I'll be happy to give your money back, but you actually owe storage for the 14 months it sat here. So I figured up how big the table was, the square footage price, and of her $1,200 that she had paid for the table, we actually only owed her I think it was $114 back by the time we figured up the square footage. So I told James, I said, this is what, by taking off her storage fees, this is what we owe her back. And then James says, okay, he says, we owe you $114. And then he, being a little snarky, he said, and that's a store credit. You have to spend it. So then she gets upset about that, but she's looking around and finds another table she wants, ends up putting that $114, applies to another table, buys that table, but luckily, on the way out, she actually decides to take the table with her, so she actually pulled the table out. And that's kind of a couple of the weirder stories we've had. You know, often you don't think about stuff like this when you own a store, but sometimes you actually run into situations where people just absolutely will not pick anything up. So if you'd like to hear more crazy stories about things that have happened at our estate sales or back when we used to own an antique store and an antique mall, feel free to subscribe to our channel or sign up for our email list on our website at jamesbeanestatesales.com. And every week you'll get an email notifying you of our new videos and also all of our upcoming sales. Thanks.